Inside this gym in Laval, the government will be testing out vaccine passports before they become mandatory September 1st. Econo-Fitness VP Renaud Baudry says not everyone may be for them, but vaccine passports will keep thousands of his customers at the gym and hundreds of employees with a job.
It's better to scan a vaccination passport than having to shut down or lock down again.
It will fall on businesses to ensure only those scanned and that get the green light are allowed in. That could pose dangers for some staff trying to enforce the rules, but bar owner Jean-Jacques Beauchamp says establishments put themselves at risk for not complying.
I will not pay $6,000 or $10,000 fine and risk my liquor permit in order to satisfy someone who doesn't want to get vaccinated.
The reaction downtown was also positive.
For those that don't want to be vaccinated for whatever reason, if they don't deserve the same rights that people who got vaccinated do, so like staying indoors, and it's for their safety as well.
It makes sense, but it also sucks for the people that don't want to get vaccinated by choice.
I'm visiting from Ontario and I think it's a great idea. I think we have to encourage people to get vaccinated.
But for visitors from outside the province looking to come after September 1st, they still don't know if, without a passport, they'll be allowed to go out to eat.
Like, I don't want to just go to Montreal and stay in a hotel room and eat at McDonald's takeout all the day. Every day we're there.
For Kirk and others planning to visit but waiting for answers, the government says they are coming before September 1st, but that may be too late, he says, for him, and he's already looking potentially at canceling his plans. Andrew Brennan, CTV News.
Andre DeGrasse has his gold. The Canadian sprinter took the 200-meter final in Tokyo today and cemented his place in Canadian track and field history. And his example will surely inspire the next generation of Canadian Olympians. Andrew Brennan has that.
A roar of victory. Andre DeGrasse captures his first Olympic gold with a Canadian record of 19.62 seconds. But afterwards, Canada's fastest man alive was humble and thankful.
The medal, I knew it was going to be tight, and it was tight. So definitely thankful and appreciative that, I got the gold.
Watching from home in Canada, his mother, who spoke to him minutes after his win.
We just smiled, like we were just basically just smiling at each other. I can't believe you did it. He was like so excited, so happy, I finally did it, I finally did it, Mom.
It was also a moment his former coach had long been dreaming of. He took DeGrasse under his wing back in high school.
Tears of joy almost this morning, man. I mean, it's what we wanted. I mean, I always kid around with Andre and tell him I'm tired of silverware. Bring me some gold, and he brought it home.
Nicholas Macrozenaris ran for Canada in 2 Olympic Games and now runs a track club in Montreal. He was inspired to run by Donovan Bailey, and he says DeGrasse capturing gold will capture the hearts of the next generation.
I know there's going to be a lasting effect. Today is a big historic day in Canada, but it's going to inspire and motivate a lot of kids all across the country to discover track and field.
One of his athletes is Joe Bernard Ezedine, a national champion and provincial record holder in the 200 and 300 meter.
The moment that I saw the race and the win, it just made me want to get to that next level, get to that next stage. It just makes me way more hungrier and just way more focused on achieving my goals.
A focus with Olympic gold as inspiration to capture his dreams and leave this opponent, and surely many to come, in the dust. Andrew Brennan, CTV News.
Well, I hate to say it, Andrew, but that was a foregone conclusion. Gutsy, though, to take on a sprinter like that on camera. Wow, what a moment.
A high school music teacher in Hudson has been recognized with a prestigious prize. It's for his efforts to keep his music program running despite the pandemic. Here's Andrew Brennan.
The band is back together. This is the first time this year Westwood High School senior band is all in class. The only other times they've physically been together, one rehearsal and then the Music Fest national competition, where they won gold.
Just when you think you can't is exactly when you must.
They wear masks with holes for their mouthpieces, and the horns are covered to prevent droplets spreading. All the work of their music teacher.
This was my chance to show the kids that doing something exceptional is not just a daily thing. You know, it's focus, it's work.
And Steve Dubinsky's efforts did not go unnoticed. He was awarded Music Fest's Outstanding Band Director Award.
It's still surreal.
His students have no doubt as to why.
Set high standards and just find a way to climb up that ladder. There's always going to be people there to help you, and just find those people. And thankfully, I have Mr. Dubinsky.
And parents agree.
He teaches life through music, and my son was one of those who were so instilled by that my son became he went into music at CEGEP.
What he gives the kids is just, I've never experienced it with any other teacher. My kids have never experienced it with any other teacher, and they all love him.
Band classes have taken over the library this year due to COVID, giving Dubinsky's colleagues fresh appreciation for his approach and passion.
But I had no idea how much heart you put into teaching music. This is his vocation. This isn't just a job for Steve.
As for the man himself, he says music and the arts are so important, helping students be creative and become well-rounded people. And in the end, his efforts are all for them.
Hopefully when I'm 108 years old and I'm sitting on my porch in the rocking chair, I have all of these different memories to think about and be proud of, and all of these different people that, you know, have had their lives impacted by music and success.
And it is their success, he says, that is the real reward. Andrew Brennan, CTV News, Hudson.
Mounds of chemically treated wood have been piling up beside railroad tracks running through Vaudreuil-Dorion, and some people living nearby fear it's a disaster waiting to happen. Andrew Brennan has more.
I'm worried that this is going to catch fire.
Scott Spence is spending a lot of time with his eyes on the tracks and a giant pile of railway ties that appeared near his home at the beginning of the month. The mounds of chemically treated wood normally laid under rail tracks are now piled high and stretch way down the track, right next to people's homes. And the retired firefighter says the chemically treated wood is highly flammable, and so much of it in one place worries him.
It's wrong. Everything about this is wrong, and it shouldn't be stored here. It should be put way back from a residential area because people live here. And I feel that we're all in danger here. All it takes is a spark.
He's reached out to the mayor and his councillor for help, and he's not the only one worried.
I smell it strong, and I just had a baby. Of course, his lungs are brand new, and I don't like that.
According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, creosote, the tar used to treat railway ties, is toxic, and when leaching from railway ties may pose risks to fish and invertebrates. The EPA also says do not burn creosote in a residential setting to avoid possible inhalation of toxic chemicals in the smoke and ash. Chevrier's mother, Joanne, says she thinks it's dangerous too, not just because of the risk of fire, but simply by breathing the air, which she says gives off a bad smell. The city of Vaudreuil-Dorion says we are up to date on the file. The fire department has been on site, and we are working with CP for them to remove the ties. CP Rail tells CTV News in a statement, regular replacement of railroad ties is a critical part of maintaining safe railway infrastructure. The used railroad ties will be picked up and disposed of in the coming weeks. But for Spence, this should never have happened.
I don't think it's well thought out. And I do know, as a firefighter, prevention is key.
And the sooner they can be gone, he says, the better. Andrew Brennan, CTV News.
Just 2 days are left for hearings on Bill 96, Quebec's proposed language reform. The use of English in business has been a major concern for the CAQ government. And Andrew, language in retail is on the agenda tomorrow.
With the Retail Council of Quebec sharing its thoughts, Maya. Now, some viewers may remember Minister Simon-Jolin Barrette, the architect of this bill, was at one point so concerned about the greeting of Bonjour Hi in stores, he was mulling banning it. It will be interesting to see what the Retail Council says about the use of French and English on the island of Montreal and beyond. So today we heard from Montreal's incumbent mayor, who says Montreal is inherently a French city and she supports Bill 96, but the bill in Valérie Plante's mind isn't perfect. She says one clause requiring cities to communicate with new arrivals in French after 6 months is a problem. She says hundreds of thousands of calls to the city's 311 line are in English every year. Today, the group representing 6 English CEGEPs also presented a brief. Now, they argued a cap on enrollment is fine, but this group says it should be for 3 years, not 10. And the CEGEPs also pointed out they do not see themselves as Anglophone schools because they're open to all Quebecers and would want to bolster French classes if they were actually allowed. Now, this was one of the constructive moments of the day as Jolin Barrette actually asked how many hours they would like. The steering committee said it has concerns about closing admissions to CEGEPs and non-Anglophones and wants to come up with a plan with the government to solve this.
Our recommendation is, because this is a complex subject, that time is needed for our colleges to adapt a policy that balances access and excellence. That's what our recommendation is.
Now, Maya, as this week wraps up, the Bill 96 hearings will also hear from more communities not entrenched in either of the so-called two solitudes. The Kanesatake Mohawk community is presenting a brief on Friday. Tomorrow, the Townshippers Association will share its thoughts on language reform.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. Police in Western.
A report on sex abuse by French clergy has prompted shock and outrage. An independent commission says 330,000 children were abused in the Catholic Church in France over the past 70 years. And Andrew, it also says that the church spent decades covering it up.
And a group of victims today called the perpetrators a disgrace to humanity and must pay for their crimes. Now, Mitsumi, the church itself commissioned this independent inquiry in the wake of a scandal involving a now defrocked priest. And its findings were both shocking and sobering. Abuses committed by some 3,000 priests covered up over decades in, quote, systemic manner. In all, 330,000 victims were identified, including 216,000 people abused by priests and other clerics, and the rest by church figures in positions of authority, scout leaders, camp counselors. The report found 80% of the victims were boys. Now the report calls on the church in part to compensate the victims, particularly those that are too old to be tried in French court. There are about 24 cases that are now in the hands of French prosecutors. Pope Francis's first issued statement on the report mentions nothing on that demand. The Vatican says the Pope's thoughts go out to the victims and that he is grateful for the courage they showed in coming forward. Some of those victims are reacting in the wake of this report. Laurent Martinez says the trauma of what happened when he was only 8 years old has stayed with him all his life.
First, I didn't know it would have an impact. Once I said it to my parents, then the priest was changed, was sent somewhere else, and I thought that it was all over because we never talk about it. But in fact, this trauma was inside me.
And he says now the real work starts for the church to change and truly make amends. Mitsumi.
Thank you very much, Andrew.